Hello and welcome to the pre-market update from Nirmal Bank. I am Daria. Clearly, if you go to see in terms of Asian markets, we actually opened up in the positive in today's day of trade. In fact, it was Japan which actually led the kind of gains that we saw. South Korea also jumped around 3%. Now, China, interestingly, has reported its first quarter GDP and that has dropped. That's an interesting factor that we need to pick up right now as we speak. Overall, if you go to see in terms of China Q1 GDP, that's contracted by almost around 6.8% on a year-on-year basis. US stock futures interestingly surged in overnight trade, and that's mainly because you have Gilead who's come out and said that the coronavirus drug has reportedly shown effectiveness. So that's something which actually made US markets trade in the positive in terms of the futures. European markets also have ended higher. In fact, if you take a couple of macro data points, a total of around almost 5.2 million Americans have filed for state unemployment benefits, and this has actually taken the total number to just a little over 22 million. In fact, if you talk about the US housing starts as well for March, that came in at almost around 1.21 million. So clearly the data in terms of unemployment is not encouraging. However, it's mainly the Gilead news which has actually kept the US futures pretty much on the uptrend. If you talk about crude as well, the prices are on the upside in Asian hours. However, in overnight trade, they were holding on at almost an 18-year high in trade. In today's session right now, Brent is up around 2.7%, whereas WTI overall, if you go to see, remains pretty much slightly unchanged. Taking cues from precious metals as well, on the back of US jobless claims, you have gold which has actually paired gains, and spot gold was up marginally around 0.5%. Palladium has eased. There is some bit of an up move coming in terms of platinum. However, silver is down almost around 0.5%. SGX Nifty taking these cues is indicating a positive start. In fact, it's indicating a start near that 9,250 mark. And the major cues that we're picking up right now is that the RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das is expected to speak at a press conference at 10 a.m. addressing the nation. So let's see if there is any economic stimulus that could be announced. And that's the reason why we're seeing that kind of an uptrend coming in on SGX Nifty along with the other global cues as well. You have FIs that have continued to remain sellers. DIIs have continued to remain buyers. So again, that trend remains pretty much intact. Indian markets as well. Yesterday's session, we erased losses, ended in the positive. We actually snapped that 2-day losing streak. There was outperformance coming in from the broader markets. However, the weakness has continued in the Indian currency. So let's see with any stimulus measures if the RBI comes out with any liquidity infusion plan as well to actually arrest this kind of continuous weakness that we have been witnessing. The breadth again remains pretty much in favor of the advances, and this has been for a fourth consecutive session. So that's something which actually gives us a sigh of relief that yes, the advances are the ones which are increasing. Overall, on the technical front as well, if you have to see, Nifty probably will see a gap up opening, and there is a possibility of that positive momentum that we could see during the day. We are seeing immediate resistance at levels of 9,070. However, there could be some bit of a pullback rally that could be expected towards 9,170 and 9,340 mark. On the flip side, you have 8,870 and 8,740 that could be acting as strong support levels. So again, it does continue to remain a stock specific market. So the best is to trade the calls with strict stop losses. On the Bank Nifty front as well, we could face immediate resistance around almost 19,780 on the upside, and on a decisive close above these levels, we could expect a rise to almost 20,140, and the next level will be 20,470. There is immediate support at 18,830 and 18,420 on the downside. Yes, financials will be a space we would be watching out for, especially on the back of the announcement that could be coming in from Shaktikanta Das at 10 a.m. Taking cues from the F&O market as well, overall if you go to see the F&O data in yesterday's session, it's pretty interesting because April futures have closed at a premium. Bank Nifty futures have closed at levels of around 19,424. And the maximum open interest on the call side is seen at 10,000, whereas on the put side it's seen at 8,000. And if you see the put call ratios as well, that's at around 1.39 versus a 1.27 across series. So if you have to look at this kind of data that we've been looking at right now, especially on the FNO side, there is that some bit of encouragement also that is coming through, and this data is also clearly giving you an indication that overall there is a possibility that the bullish undertone in the market is something that could continue for the day. So overall, a gap up opening is what is on the cards. We are likely to remain positive during the day. Announcements from Shaktikanta Das at 10 a.m. is something that we will be watching out for. That's all that we have in the pre-market update. Thanks for watching. You could subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram and Twitter.